Good afternoon, everybody. We are Sorin Capital, and we are very excited to share our investment proposal with you all today. My name is Connor Patrick. I am a Master of Science in Management candidate at the University of Notre Dame.
Hi, my name is Jackie Herrick, and I'm a first-year MBA student majoring in finance.
I'm Mark Eisey. I'm a first-year MBA student focusing on finance.
I'm Danny Lynch, and I'm a Master of Science in Finance student at Notre Dame.
And unfortunately, our engineering colleague, Colleen, ended up not being able to be with us today. But we are very excited again to present to you our proposal. This quote from a local journalist in St. Louis was kind of our guiding North Star when going through this project. And it reads, "I hope St. Louisans wonder why so much land sits unused and fallow, and why such beautiful buildings are sitting empty, waiting for someone to use them again." That was our charge, and again, we're very excited to present to you all what we have, but first, we'll go over the current site conditions.
This property includes 5 historic buildings in various stages of wear and tear. Notably, the Cotton Belt Building and Laclede Building are in need of significant renovations. The Peerless Building is contaminated beyond repair, and the area is filled with brownfields. There are brownfields across the site. Finally, power lines and flood walls present significant aesthetic problems for this site that need to be worked through. There is a park that is well loved in the area that we wanted to implement into our development, so we will cover that later.
Thank you, Mark. So as we were going through all this, we looked towards existing community feedback and market research to really guide what we were going to do. Here are 2 official City of St. Louis action plans, one covering the downtown neighborhood and one covering the near north riverfront. Again, we really wanted to root our proposal in a desire to, yes, meet market demand, absolutely, but also serve the demonstrated needs of the people and the city of St. Louis. We wanted this to have a major positive impact upon the community in which this will be. And so, we are very excited to present to you all our proposal, the St. Louis Power District. This site is historic. On the site, there are 3 former power generation buildings, which at one time all operated concurrently. There's still one in operation today, and the other 2 are still sitting on the site. So again, we wanted to capitalize on the enduring significance of this site, but bring new energy to the near north riverfront and the city. Again, we went with extensive community feedback and market research to develop our proposal. At first, we were thinking of, maybe building a new innovation district or maybe a marina, but there are already plenty of innovation districts in the city of St. Louis, and a marina is already being developed just a mile north of this site. So again, we really went with what the community is looking for, which our research revealed is a mixed-use riverfront district, featuring residential, retail, dining and entertainment, fitness, connection to nature and to the Mississippi River, and much more. As one individual said in the North Riverfront Action Plan, this is the only opportunity St. Louis will ever have to get a true riverside residential district. Here is what that looks like. My colleague Jackie has some printouts for you to all kind of follow along the map as we present each building kind of one by one. And we'll start with the historic Laclede Power Building, which is building 1 on there. Danny?
So here's the REI Co-op building that we will be looking at first. This will be utilizing the pre-existing Laclede Power Building. Given the unique aesthetics, the exposed roof, brick walls, we believe this lends well, and we're looking to embrace these characteristics with an REI store, which really holds home the nature, outdoorsy type, and really appeals on that front. You can see here an example of an REI co-op that was done in Denver, Colorado. This is an example that we would like to model our store after. An additional point with the location of the building being at the front of the river trail, we are looking to utilize this as well as an area in which bikers, walkers, runners can stay at, rest, shop, use it as an area in which people can convene. And then also partnering with a community partner like Great Rivers Greenway, we can really transform this area and make it a bright light in the St. Louis community.
Next, we'll move just across the street to the former site of the Peerless building. Again, extensive environmental contamination and fires have kind of destroyed the building. We would like to turn that site into a new hotel, kind of capitalizing on the post-COVID St. Louis boom and resurgence of hospitality, and offered unparalleled new perspectives of the city. There really isn't a kind of tall building in this northern area of the city with views of the kind of south of St. Louis, including the Gateway Arch and the river and the rest of downtown. So we think this is, again, a unique opportunity to build a hotel tower here, capitalizing also on the exciting post-COVID activity in the city with a thriving XFL team at the Dome, many other events happening at the Americas Center, a race car track 5 minutes away with multiple NASCAR races, many events happening that drive people to St. Louis, and particularly topping it with a rooftop bar and restaurant. Again, with these new views of the city from the north looking south, we believe that this will be a perfect place for an evening out. Multiple community members spoke to us about this building, the Sunshine building, and expressed a desire for something like a brewery to be in this space. And we couldn't agree more. We believe that this would be the perfect home for a craft brewery with its nice, beautiful high ceilings and industrial vibe. And there's actually a little bit of land on the southern end of this building that is kind of just vacant. And we love to really create a lovely outdoor, indoor dining space with a railway theme. Multiple railways kind of cut right through this part of the city, and we love to really honor that heritage and enduring significance of railway in this site.
So drawing on the French affiliation of St. Louis, we're excited to introduce the Little French Market, which we believe will offer a unique experience and drive more traffic to the area.
Right across the street from that, it's really hard to miss the former Cotton Belt Freight Depot. Whether you're there in person or looking at it from Google Maps, it is just a colossal building, but it's an icon of the city of St. Louis. It holds a special place in their hearts and in their minds, and it's on the National Register of Historic Places. So we really want to reuse this and make it kind of the cornerstone of our site with first floor retail, really kind of community-oriented retail, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, as well as loft apartments on the remaining 4 floors. We especially think this is a perfect opportunity to have something like a riverfront visitor center or museum, given the historic nature of this site. Home for generations to native peoples, then for hundreds of years for industrial uses of various sorts, including power generation, and now hopefully into this new transformed power district. We believe something like this would really help to draw in the community and put into dialogue the power district in this area of St. Louis with the rest of the city, as well as the Mississippi riverfront. Just across the street, we hope to continue this kind of mixed-use development with twin mixed-use buildings, first floor retail with tenants such as the St. Louis Bread Company, local pet market called Four Muddy Paws and others, and then upper floor apartments. And I guess this is a good opportunity to point out kind of the architecture that we're going for. Throughout our proposal, we want to honor the historic past of this site, but also look towards the future. So for some of these buildings, we'd love to draw on that red brick industrial vibe for buildings such as this, but for other buildings such as our hotel and then the building you're about to see shortly, we draw on a more modern theme with glass and steel. Again, acknowledging and honoring the past, but also looking towards the future.
On the northeast corner of the property on Site 7, we would like to commit this space to a high-end health club similar to Health Bridge in the Midwest, a large facility that features a running track, multiple swimming pools, racquetball court, basketball court, for any resident who is a sports enthusiast and is willing to pay a premium for a facility like this. Additionally, in this building, we would like to split it with a grocery store to provide residents with easy access to grocery. As a partner, a potential partner for this building, we were thinking about Whole Foods.
And lastly, integral to our site is green space that the public can access and utilize. We'd love to put a plaza outside of our French market and across from the Cotton Belt building for you to have a coffee with friends, have lunch with friends, maybe a pop-up farmer's market could take place there. And again, 7 additional acres of green space for public use. Now, we at Soren Capital are not park developers, but there are trusted community partners in St. Louis who are, including Great Rivers Greenway and TrailNet, who already have plans for a park of this nature on this site. So we want to work with them to make that a reality. Some possibilities that they've put forward or we think would be a great idea include making part of it into a wetland, really beautifying the site and also serving as a sustainable collection for stormwater runoff. Having an elaborate walking trail that in the winter can turn into a unique ice skating attraction, something not really seen in the St. Louis area right now. Having a public amphitheater kind of on the northern end of the site with the new Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge kind of as a beautiful backdrop to that, hosting performances such as the Big Muddy Blues Festival and the long-standing Arctica Festival that occurs on this site. And lastly, either preserving Rootwad Park or transforming it, it is unfinished, to honor the great Bob Casserly, who's kind of a local legend in this area with all of his artwork. And there's more that can be done in the future. In our plan, we leave in place a number of current power lines and pylons that kind of bisect the site. In a future phase of development, it would be great to partner with Ameren Energy and the city of St. Louis to tear these down. And this would unlock approximately 2 acres of land for additional development, really completing this district. Currently, the site is zoned as Zone K unrestricted, but this actually isn't the best. It presents some problems with reverting to lower density zones for things like building height and side and front yardage. And it also explicitly bans residential. So we could either seek variances for everything that we hope to change, or in one fell swoop, put together a planned unit development PUD or community unit plan CUP. It's a similar process to that of a conditional use anyways, but it kind of, again, gets everything done in one fell swoop, and any future development would not need to be rezoned or a variance sought after for, because it would already have that new zoning overlay with the PUD or CUP. At this point, I'll pass it on to Jackie for demographics and marketing strategies.
Thank you, Connor. So when we look at the data, we find a number of groups of people who could really find a home here in the Power District. First, looking at the distribution of income ranges, we're focusing in on the 50 to 125K per year. Then, as you can see on the left, most households are comprised of 1 or 2 people, primarily married without kids or married without kids. The age ranges predominantly falls on the mid-20s, 30s, and we include up to the mid-50s for those empty nesters who are still working downtown, but are seeking out the benefits of an active lifestyle. Our neighborhood is growing. We see a number of successful developments such as Chateau's Landing, Laclede's Landing for residential. We have the Cortex Innovation Center, and I want to bring some special attention to the new NGA headquarters that's going to bring over 3,000 new jobs to the area. We're not only close to downtown, but we're linked to the archway with the bike path, and our transportation, as you can see here, is very extensive with the Metrolink, rail, highways, close to the airports, so on and so forth. Our SWOT analysis here summarizes the strengths that we've discussed, and while we acknowledge the weaknesses and threats of the area, with previously being cut off from downtown and perception of being unsafe, we see this as an abundant opportunity for this to be a destination spot. And really, it's the people that's going to make this district come alive. So you might have someone like Chris, who's an IT manager working at Cortex, just got a contract with the NGA, wants to be downtown by young people, or Brianna, recently graduated from WashU, prioritizes health, and wants to have everything she needs at her home at her fingertips. Or Emily, who's in the suburbs, wants to come down for date night or spend a day at the Gateway Arch and have a place to enjoy with her friends. We foresee a number of events to further engage the community, bring awareness to this area, and really welcome people to this new power district.
Looking at the financials in aggregate, for costs, we have $4.9 million for acquisitions. We have $247 million for construction. We're operating at 60% net operating profit. We have 20.33% aggregate IRR, and we have an NPV of $127 million. For assumptions, we have a discount rate of 8%, cost of debt 6%, cap rate of 5%. The building designations that we have separated out for this project would be the real estate and retail fusion properties, which are driving the majority of the revenue, and we have the dedicated entertainment properties that generate significantly less IRR, but will bring in externals into the area, external visitors to drive future growth.
And now looking at our projected construction timeline for this project with the start date of 2024 and an end date around 2038. First, looking in this first year, beginning with the demolition of the Perless building. Also accommodating for some of the environmental remediation that must be done and rezoning, and beginning on the marketing of the new project and neighborhood. Leading us into the next year for the timeline. This is where the new construction will begin. Our historic preservation will conclude at this point, but continuing to focus on marketing and leasing throughout the lifetime of this project, leading us into late 2026 and early 2027 through 2038. This is when we are projecting for all buildings to be completed. Our marketing and leasing activities will continue throughout this timeline and leading us with the year 2038 in which we will sell all the assets.
So we'll talk more about the financing kind of in Q&A and certain assumptions that we made, and all of these were kind of individually done for each building. Again, some are lovely returns, others not as much. We believe they're important for the placemaking of the site, so again, we can go through these more in depth in Q&A. But overall, we just want to end with this kind of vision for the site. This quote again comes from the North Riverfront Open Space and Development Plan and reads, "This very location where the city meets the river offers a one-of-a-kind chance to create a unique new urban community. By leveraging its historic past and century of innovations, it can ensure a promising future." And we hope to do just that. Thank you, and we look forward to answering questions.
Yeah, I can jump in. Couple questions. So I want to focus on the hospitality use a little bit. So maybe to just out myself here a little bit, I actually live in St. Louis and work with hotel developers a little bit. So I want to ask a little bit more about that. Some of the hotels that we've seen lately in St. Louis, I think are arguably better located, near the sports stadiums. There's a 300 hotel, Kimpton and Staybridge proposed at downtown West. There's a few hotels that are less well located that are in receivership, and then probably your immediate competition for the Battlehawks and some of the other inner core of downtown is going to be your Four Seasons, and that has the casino asset. So I'm wondering if you've thought about the flag or how you're going to differentiate yourself to hotels that are arguably better located to things like the MLS Stadium or in the Four Seasons case, the brand of the Four Seasons plus the casino.
Right. Well, I'll start, and I guess any of my team can jump in a moment. But we really envision this kind of the bent being on kind of the outdoors vibe that we have in the area, and kind of this being this really active area for people with more active lifestyles. And yes, certainly there are others that are better located. This is true, and it's true that some are not doing so well, but we also see others that are thriving. our hope is that it is, of course, disconnected in a way from the city, which in a way might be a negative. We also see that as somewhat of a blessing, with being really kind of this right along the riverfront area. Maybe the only other hotel that's kind of right there might be the Four Seasons, but we hope that a tenant such as what we proposed on here, Marriott, through its AC line, would be an accessible line that's more focused on that, kind of this new neighborhood right along the riverfront, and its proximity to the Dome and to the America Center. Again, maybe not being right there, but being just around a 5-minute walk away.
Okay, great. One more quick question. I'm going to send it down the line here. So I noticed on some of your, you mentioned the lower IRR properties, and one of the tools that's potentially available not only to the hotel but to the retail would be to implement a community improvement district where you could do a sales tax, you could do a assessment on the hotel rooms, and that it can all be baked into not only the horizontal infrastructure but also the vertical infrastructure if you get the site blighted. But did you all, how did you all look at incentives, and and how does that sort of tie back to the fact that you're not getting the returns maybe that an investor might want to see, and is there any room there to if you didn't include some of those things, to maybe reconsider some of that?
Yes, so there definitely is room for growth. So the comps that we chose were slightly lowered to accommodate the condition of the area. So the rents that you're seeing in those buildings are comparatively low than apartments maybe of similar condition. Additionally, we only have a 2% rent escalation, so that can be increased as well. So I see between those two things, we could raise rent, we can increase escalation to drive revenue growth over time.
And I'll just add super quickly, we looked at things like the City of St. Louis's tax abatement scheme as potential possibilities. Now, for the sake of the competition, given that something like that, we saw a kind of a chart on the City of St. Louis website of all the different people you had to go through for, it is a politically intense process. So something like that certainly would be a possibility. Other things like LIHTC credits, again, things we would love to absolutely do. For the sake of this, given that some of those are a bit more politically risky, we didn't fully implement them given, well, the riskiness. But those are certainly things that we would love to see, and we're definitely thinking about.
Thank you.
I got a question on the financing. On the in your deck, you have basically your loan sized to 125 debt service coverage, and it seems like you're seeking financing for each specific building, right? Is there an aggregate kind of budget that combines the total loan to do this, or are you financing each building individually as represented here? And then secondly, I'm just curious in terms of who you talk to on the financing side in terms of the pricing that you have reflected in here, because I heard 6% in your verbal, but I'm looking at this deck and it says 4%, and I can tell you right now that does not in any way remotely exist in any environment today. It's twice this at a minimum for stabilized property. So I'm curious in terms of the discussions that you had on the financing side.
Sure. So we spoke with advisors and experts on campus through our Notre Dame network to get the values. I will admit that for cost of debt, that is very low for current conditions. For construction, our engineering colleague, she did all the construction costs. That's her background. So that's where we got those. Regarding the aggregation of all of these costs, we did not submit a consolidated document with all of them. Ideally, we would finance everything together.
I was curious with the Cotton Belt Freight Depot building, you chose to keep it and rehab it. How do those costs compare with that of demolition and new construction?
Yeah, so Colleen, she worked for, she did cost estimating for Walsh Construction here in the city, but she, from her perspective, it would have been more costly to demo it than to rehab it. So we could pour that money into the renovations just by those calculations of the cost for, because it's primarily concrete. So what that would cost per unit of concrete.
We also kind of had a sort of interest in preserving this building, given its historic status in the city, and really, I mean, with it being the only site here on the National Historic Register. I think at first, upon seeing it in person, our gut reaction was, oh, we've got to bring this down. But upon reconsidering and upon really trying to present a plan for this site that really took, the community interests at heart and put them at the forefront, we thought that preserving this and reusing it, particularly for tenants that are more community oriented, like some of the ones that we listed, like Art St. Louis, or some sort of visitor center, would really be a net positive for the city and for this neighborhood in driving traffic to it.
Okay. Let's pretend you're Amazon. Why would you choose this site for your Whole Foods store?
If I were them, I would see opportunity. I would see no real other competition in the area, and our demographics showed that. I mean, at first on the when you're on the ground, it looks like, oh, where are the people? Are they really here? But as Jackie kind of looked into the demographics, we saw, oh, there actually are quite a few people living here, and that actually kind of outside of downtown continues to grow with a lot of the different rehabbed historic buildings that are being turned into loft apartments in the area, particularly down on Laclede Landing. And so we think with adding all of these people that will be living here, enjoying life here, that having this site be a home for something like a Whole Foods. If I run some sort of grocery store like Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods, I'd at least want to take a look at that.
Good job, everyone. Elle doesn't like me telling people they did a good job, positive feedback, but I think you guys did a good job. So I'm teasing. So a couple things I like. I like the REI and kind of that anchored piece over there. I would like to understand a little bit more how you want to kind of integrate it with the site. I mean, I saw some good examples. I thought that was a good idea. We did one over here in Goose Island too, so that does kind of create a certain buzz. But you also mentioned that this is a PUD, so that's a huge opportunity to do a mega development. So in doing that, I heard that you did some outreach to the community, which is really important. But it's also a great opportunity, especially because it's the Power District, is to kind of be on the forefront of sustainability and design. So I was wondering if there's anything that you did maybe in working on sustainable ideas, again, because you've got an entire mega development here. So you could do geothermal, you could do, a grid, you can, there's a bunch of different things to do. And I was just wondering if you guys investigated any options on the sustainability front.
Certainly. So starting on the sustainability piece first, again, having this kind of open site, particularly with, well, it's no secret, sea levels are rising, river levels are rising, and so that flood wall that's there right now is great, and it's worked really well, and we investigated, is there a way to remove that? There's no way to remove that. But even as that becomes more of a challenge to our Earth, having something like that kind of wetland stormwater retention area right there will be absolutely a plus in terms of sustainability, both for the river rising as well as runoff water, stormwater runoff coming down to it. Our hope would also be that all of our new buildings would all be LEED certified. I mean, for us at Notre Dame with our developments on campus, that's kind of the bare minimum. Like that's just a no-brainer for like us, and so that's kind of that was kind of our hope for sustainability. And I apologize. Can you go back to the first question?
No, that was just it. I was wondering if you had gone through any because it's a planned development, so you have a blank campus. So and it is the Power District. So I was wondering if you had thought of any ways to be creative on power as well.
Certainly. Yeah, those are kind of the initial things we have. But if we had another semester, maybe we would have even more ideas.
Good. That's all I have.
Thank you all so much.